you went to play, didn't you?
I did go to play and study.
Yeah, we'll hear about that in just a tick. So you went to jazz. Did you turn your back completely on classical piano, or did you combine the two?
Not initially, but then I realised that for me anyway, they are two quite separate disciplines and they both require a lot of dedication and time spent. And so I did come to a point where I needed to make a choice. So I made the choice that I wanted to pursue jazz and improvisation. But I've always been interested in composition, even sort of as a 10-year-old I started writing. So I still continue to look to classical composers for inspiration in that regard. So even though I wasn't necessarily playing classical music or learning it, in a formal sort of sense, I was still visiting it all the time and sort of gaining information and knowledge.
Tell me a bit about improvisation. I always must say, as a listener, that I just take my hat off to people who can improvise music on the spot. Is it something you can learn to do?
Well, yeah, it's a little bit of a misconception that it's all just made up on the fly. Like, there's actually, you practice it, and you practice, you develop tools that then you use in improvisation. Like Carlo mentioned that in his improvisation it draws on historical sort of parts of the music. So yes, he's improvising, or people are improvising, but they're still drawing on a really sort of developed set of, like, a language that, there's really specifics to the way it works, and it's just like our conversation. I'm not making up new words as we go, and even my sentences have all probably been said, in some way before, but this conversation has never happened before, so
that's a great analogy. That's good. You have these little epiphanies. That was one of me. Another one that I've had in music was when Richard Bonning said to me, he was just talking about, in an interview, about the long trip from England to Australia, and I said, what do you, how do you do it? This is not on air, I think it might have been off air. He said, I read scores, and I thought, what? And he said he read musical scores, so he'd get the score, and he reads them like novels, and I said, how can you do that? You're listening to the music, and he said, well, you read a book, I read a score. And suddenly the penny dropped that he actually, it's a different language, music. I mean, it's a different notation, but it's a language. So he was reading it like a novel. And it was a real epiphany, and that is a beautiful way of putting that. Can I leave you on that for a moment and turn to Luna?
How am I going to follow from that?